So I always like to start with this slide, start with why is a book. And so this why for me for paper and clutter was that I used to personally have a desk that was completely unusable because it was covered with paper, piled high, and all kinds of stuff all over. Like I couldn't even open the filing cabinet. It wasn't positioned in a correct way. So that desk for me, it was never usable. And so eventually I started learning about a system called Getting Things Done, which is a book by David Allen. And so a lot of these principles kind of come from that book and other sources. But I really, turned a leaf. And so earlier today, to prepare for this class, I figured I would set a good example. I had a pile of paper that I had, kind of been procrastinating on getting rid of. So I was able to get everything completely put into my smartphone, into the 3 apps we're going to talk about, which is Trello, Evernote, and Google Drive. And it's all gone except for maybe, yeah, it's all gone now. So, it's a lot easier to carry around your smartphone, which you already have, than it is to carry all the to-dos and the documents and all of the notes that are lying around in piles around the house. So I personally went into organizing because I had a lot of problems, and they actually run in my family. So that's my why. So yeah, those are our apps: Evernote, Google Drive, and Trello. And so if you want to go ahead and download them, has anybody downloaded any of them yet here? You have, Barbara, which ones do you have so far?
I have Google Drive, definitely. I'm aware of Google Note. I just didn't get into it. And Trello, I have no idea.
Okay, Google Drive has been around for a long time, so that's wonderful. That you have some experience with them. And so for me, what I do is I'm a personal assistant, personal concierge. I do grocery shopping every week for 2 different families. This past couple weeks, I've been doing a lot of organizing. I have one client who is organizing in an office, and the most difficult category we've had to deal with is paper. So, it's a real struggle for a lot of people getting rid of paper clutter. I also help small businesses with their marketing. Today I was working with a small business owner who is an author, helping him put together a photo contest. I do personal shopping, and I do project management assistance for a lot of clients. And so in my everyday working with clients, I find these apps to be extremely useful, and I honestly wouldn't be able to function without especially Trello, because if you think about how many tasks an average person has, and then they're delegating those tasks onto me, and I have several different clients within a single week, I could have 5, 6, or 7 different people that are assigning tasks and to-dos to me, sending me documents, sending me text messages. So, I use these religiously in order to keep everything together and make sure things don't fall through the cracks, especially when I get busy like last week. And so I also do provide virtual services, same type of things online. Now for tonight, our agenda, we're gonna go through and each share our goals around paper and kind of give each other an overview of, how we're managing, are we using apps? Do we have big piles that we need to really attack? And then we're gonna go over each individual app. So first we're gonna talk about Evernote. And it's gonna be a lot of personal sharing from me about how I use these things, because I was gonna show you guys YouTube videos or, but you can watch YouTube videos on your own. So I'm really gonna go over what I've used these for most and what's been most helpful to me and my clients. And so I'll go over Evernote first, and then Trello, Google Drive, and then we can all get a pile of paper from our house and we can all go through it together if you guys want. So, or I can do one volunteer. We can kind of see, what each thing, how you're gonna deal with it. Maybe you're gonna put it into Trello or Evernote or Google Drive, or just get rid of it. A lot of times that's the best thing. So like I talked about, I'm the reason I wanted to become an organizer was because I was not born organized whatsoever. I was a very messy child, and the famous story from my dad is that when he told me to go clean my room, I went upstairs and pushed the toys apart so there was a 2-foot path that he could walk through, so I really had to work on becoming organized, downsizing my own possessions, and being more disciplined in order to have organization in my life. So we'll go ahead and share. I'll stop the screen share, and then we'll come to the participants share. And I just want to go around again, quickly and just kind of tell me your general goal about paper clutter. Is it a big problem to you in your life, or do you just need a little refresher? And what do you want to kind of get out of this class tonight? So we'll start with Katie, because she was our last time, so we'll go in the reverse order. Katie, go right ahead.
I think I really just want to have a good idea of like what I need to save and what I don't actually need to save, because I just feel like I have too much. I mean, I think I mostly stay on top. Like I have an organizing system and I can usually get it there. I'm not always disciplined to have it there all the time. But I feel like what I do have is probably more than what I need.
Okay, so like what to keep and what to get rid of. That's very common question at these classes on paper is always, what should I keep for how long? And so we can definitely talk about that a little bit. But yeah, especially with, a lot of members of your household, like if you're a mother, you have to keep track of all the kids' different papers as well. So it is a lot, absolutely. So thank you, Katie. And next we'll go to Kathy.
So I don't even really know where to start. I keep way too many papers. I'm a teacher, a special ed teacher, and I get transferred every once in a while, so I never know what I'm going to need, that whole thing. So I have way too much, and I have 2 file cabinets in my house. I don't feel like I should have that much, and I really want to downsize and get rid of that, but I kind of don't know how to get rid of, or what to get rid of, or how to get rid of it. And I'm not a big fan of keeping everything in my phone, because I'm just afraid, once I lose that phone, or if I lose that phone, then I have nothing. So I kind of don't like having everything in my phone. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing about these 3 apps that we're going to talk about is that if you were to lose the phone, you could still access information online, and you can take it to your next phone. So, that's a great thing.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, so I think it was next was Charmaine.
Yes. Actually, my volume just went down. I'm not sure what happened, but I have a lot of papers from my mother, and as well as my own, and I need to figure out what I can save, what I need to save, and how I can save them so that there's less paper around. I'm definitely open to the electronic way of saving it. However, again, I mean, I'm also afraid of something going down and me not having what I need around anymore.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that is really tricky when it's paper. Absolutely. I hear that a lot. I'm gonna mute you. I think you have a background noise. So what about Martha?
Well, I have an issue with paper. I try to only, keep files that I really think I'm going to need. But I find like if I read magazines, I'll cut out a recipe instead of saving the whole magazine. And before you know it, I have a pile of recipes and a pile of craft projects, all sorts of things. And, the reality is if I look at it a year later, I haven't tried any of the recipes. I haven't tried any of the projects. But I struggle with just getting rid of it because I think maybe I'll do it sometimes. The other thing I tried to kind of simplify my life a couple of years ago, and it kind of blew up in my face today, was I tried to get rid of all my CDs. And so I recorded everything on my iPod. And, have it on iTunes on the computer. And today I was in the mood to listen to some music while I was on the computer. I now can't access anything on iTunes. It says it can't find it. I went onto the my iPod. They're gone. I have no idea what happened, and I'm thinking I should have, kept those 200 CDs.
Oh.
But they take up space, and you're just trying to reduce your space and have a clutter-free desk. So.
Yeah, my mother actually sold CDs. She was a business owner as well, and so when she passed away, we had at least like 3,000 CDs
Oh my gosh.
alone. That were all promotional, had been sent from the record company. So
Yeah.
that it can be tough. They do take up a lot of space, but I mean, there might be a way for you to get your music
There
back.
probably is. Yeah.
But that is really stressful, to have to even worry about it. So I'm sorry
Yeah.
that happened to you.
Me too.
But the recipes, I think that you're gonna want to pay attention during the Evernote portion
Okay.
for recipes, and for
Okay.
craft projects, I think
Uh-huh.
that Trello will be the one.
Okay.
So,
Good.
Next is Barbara.
Okay. I guess a lot of it is medical forms, like how to organize medical history and moving ahead as to how to add to it. That is pretty organized. I have used the Google Drive. I have, put things in. It's consistency too, and being on top of it consistently. But medical files just overwhelm me. I don't know if there's a best way to do things on that before I need to address all the medical stuff.
Right. I think that for our purposes tonight, we're going to be using smartphone apps and scanning. And I wouldn't want like medical information to be scanned like that into your phone. Like that would be one of the ones I might caution you against scanning. But
Okay.
for filing, I would say I just put out a new blog on paper organizing products. So I'll ask you guys to put in the chat, put your email and your name, and you can send it to me privately, and then I'll send you guys out the blog and follow up from this class and all the links that I talk about. So yeah, but that would be something I would keep in paper, like one of the few things. So unfortunately.
Well, then figuring out how to put them in notebooks or whatever file system would work for that.
Binder might work. But what I recommend in the blog is
Okay.
a clear hanging file box that you can purchase from any Staples or Office Depot, and then the hanging files, you want to separate them by person and probably by year.
That's pretty much what I've been doing. So
Yeah, exactly. So
great. Thanks.
You're welcome. And then Marilyn.
Well, I have also been a teacher, a librarian actually. So I've had a lot of things. I just went through and downsized from about 6 plastic big containers to about 3. I have a hard time getting rid of some of those things because I am just the kind of person that as soon as I throw them away, it's like, I need that, or I could have used that. I've had a bad experience though. Just this past week, I got a new phone. I lost my contacts, can't get them. So I'm a little leery about, doing some of these things digitally, but I think it's time. I have a lot of recipes. I make a lot of manila folder files, but within those folder files, trying to figure out, okay, I know it's there, but I can't find it. And I had been a medical social worker before getting into education. And we always used to laugh because we seemed to be the type of person that we would make a pile. And we would say, okay, well, I know it's in that pile. So we knew where things were. It would be in a big pile somewhere, and we'd have to go through them. So trying to organize myself, it's not easy because I've heard of Evernote. I haven't heard of Trello. I'm looking for, you know, what would be an easier way to organize some of those things. So I've got a lot of stuff. Yeah.
That is tough. Do you still have the old phone with the contacts that you lost, or you said you lost the phone?
When things got transferred, apparently only the contacts that I had established on my laptop came through. I don't know why.
Well, if you still have the old phone, you might be able to still get them if you bring both phones to the store.
We already got rid of them.
Oh,
So they're not there. They're not
this is
accessible.
a new phone too, and I had to do a bunch of jumping around hoops to get it all to work. So I totally understand all that.
Yeah. So trying to put all that back in, but again, that was a big file of information that I had, and starting from scratch again is not fun.
No, absolutely not. So for I typically do like a project plan. I have a PDF of, that I can also send out in the email, but I like to think about first, what resources do you need or do you have? And so obviously these resources that you're going to need for this class are a smartphone or tablet, smart device of some sort. You would need to maybe download these apps. So downloading the Evernote app, Google Drive app, and the Trello app. And things that are optional but still very helpful is having a computer to also be able to use at the same time, because sometimes it's easier to enter things onto a computer and sometimes it's easier to do them on your phone. So it's just kind of like an ease of use to have a computer available as well. And then also a shredder is great to have on hand on site, because sometimes we do want to, shred information. I like to shred any personal information, but you can also bring all of your items to shred in a bag to Staples, and I think they charge 99 cents a pound. So I had a client a couple weeks ago who had boxes of old taxes, and so it ended up being like $36. So I guess that was like 36 pounds of paper that they, shredded. So, and also having a printer is helpful, but not necessary. We're trying to reduce the paper, not create more paper. So that would, kind of be a two-edged sword, the printer. So what is Evernote? So if you, like I said, there's plenty of YouTube videos on all these apps. There's like a million. Instead of showing you one, I'll just explain it. Evernote is a system of notes. So it's an app on your phone. It looks like a little elephant. And it just basically, you have these little tiny notes, example notes. So I have a note in here that is, and I also did put this on my computer so I could show you more easily. Can you see that screen? Can somebody see it? Okay. So you have here, you have your Evernote account. This is what it looks like on a computer. It's much easier to show you since we're on Zoom. And you have, each little note has its own little title, and then it has a body. So so you would just create a new note when you, let's say, you wanted to create a list of books that you wanted to read in the future. So you would just create a new note and you would title this list of books to read. And so we talked about books that we kind of suggested. We had a bunch of them. One of them was Empty Mansions, right? The one I wrote down. So you just kind of make a list, of all the books you wanted to read. And then the cool thing is that if you have the app, you can add them on the fly. So, if I was smart, I would have had that note open and I would have been typing the books that you guys just recommended to me. I could do that anywhere. If you're out with a friend, you can just, type into Evernote something that you want to remember later. So also another cool thing that you can do, so that's the basic interface. It's just a series of notes, but they are searchable. So If you did come onto your Evernote app, you have all these notes. You could just search for books, and the ones that you created about books to read would come up right away. But the coolest thing with paper, so for paper, you can actually start a note and you can do what's called a camera scan. And so that is going to be scanning something using your phone. So I just opened a camera scan, and you can just, it's just like taking a picture, except for it's a more high quality. Like you can scan a document, a recipe from a magazine. You can do it in black and white and color. You can do like a lot of times a flyer from somebody. Like I have a whole list here of things that I do on Evernote. So here's the list. So for example, cards, that's like a big one for me. My family kept so many cards. I think my mother had 2 or 3 shopping bags full of greeting cards that she had received over the years. And so when she passed away, I received all those cards. And so the special ones that I wanted to remember, I scanned into the Evernote so that I can keep them. I can see them if I want to. If I'm, in the mood, I can just go in there and look at them. But I don't have 3, grocery bags. They're completely stuffed full of cards anymore because I don't have room for that in my home. So that's a huge one, is cards. And you can kind of organize them into a notebook. So a notebook is just a collection of notes, like a folder, like a manila folder for your notes. And so you could create a notebook that says cards, scan all your cards in there, and then you're good to go. You have them.
Lisa,
Yes.
can I interrupt? I have a question with that. So this is a problem that I also have with being organized, like what you just were talking about with the bags of cards, the greeting cards that you've received,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use Evernote to kind of scan them in. So there's got to be, is there a way to organize those cards so that I'm not looking through like 300 cards just to find one that, like, my Aunt Barbara sent me that really touched me 10 years ago?
Yes. So you just talked about it, time and person.
Uh-huh.
You would create, you can make it as the filing as detailed or as general as works for you. So if you think that cards, you're going to have 300 cards and that's what you're going to use Evernote for, I would create one notebook that says cards dash Aunt Barbara, cards dash, grandma,
Uh-huh.
and just kind of organize them by the
Okay.
person first. And then when you get into the note where you're scanning the card, that's where you can kind of add the date in the title of the note.
Okay. So you really kind of have to spend some time planning how you want to organize things, because what my tendency would be to scan all the cards and then halfway through think, there's probably a better way to do this, and then I have to kind of go back and reconfigure things, and that's where I get hung up, because then I don't feel like doing that.
Yeah, that's where my project plan comes in handy.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's just a simple quadrant project plan. It's divided into 4 boxes. And
Uh-huh.
it comes resources, steps. So like taking, even just 15 minutes before you start an organizing project to do an organizing plan.
Okay.
Really helpful. Anytime
Yeah.
that you spend planning your project and like, writing down the resources that you need and all of the, if you're going to get helpers, who's going to help you,
Right.
beforehand, that will give you a solid structure so that you don't procrastinate with these
Right.
larger projects, because they're very easy to put off. They're not urgent.
Right.
Give yourself some deadlines in the project plan. Like I want to, do this by this date, so that you do have that kind of structure. But absolutely, if you're going to scan 300 cards, do make a plan first.
Right. Thank you.
But for me, the way I did it, I didn't have that many cards, so I have a notebook that's all about my home stuff, and I just put all of them in there and titled them the name of the person. Like I don't have that many because I really skimmed them down before I started scanning. Like you do
Right.
want to go through, if you have 300, and just kind of see, like, is there 25 cards from Aunt so-and-so, that say love Aunt so-and-so, how many do you
Right.
scan really,
Yeah.
just get the special ones, and, maybe think of a number first, like I'm going to do only 30%, I'm going to scan, or 10%,
Mhm.
just kind of give yourself a goal first so that you don't end up doing more work than you have to, and it
Okay.
takes a longer time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the other cool stuff that you can do with Evernote is that you can scan handwritten notes, and they come up really nicely like a document. And then apparently you should be able to search the handwriting, but I actually haven't. I don't know how well that works. Like the search function for Evernote is supposed to be crazy good, and you're supposed to be able to search the handwriting in all your notes, but whenever I try to show somebody, it doesn't work. So. Another awesome thing that I actually upgraded from the free Evernote account to the premium for a while, which I think was $8 a month, was to scan business cards. Because if you do, like Charmaine, if you have, I know Charmaine from professional networking. So at networking, we get 25 business cards a lot of times, and you end up with like hundreds and hundreds of them in like rubber bands, like lots. Sometimes people have called me to their house to deal with all their business cards. So I think that scanning them on Evernote is so much easier than anything else I've ever tried. And then you can just, like, each of your notes in Evernote has a sharing function. So you can actually share out the business card to another contact that needs that referral right away, and like right from the app. So many times my clients will need, for example, they need a graphic designer today. So I can just go into Evernote, search for graphic designers, pull up however many I got business cards from in the past, pick the one that I like, and then share it right from the app. And then, that takes like a fraction of the time of looking through business cards. And then you're more likely to actually do it rather than procrastinating on it, because that's, that makes you look unprofessional if you tell somebody you're going to give them some information and just procrastinate, so it does make you look really good to be able to just shoot them over an Evernote business card, and very easy. Also, like little quick typed notes sometimes, like if I have something, really short that I want to just take a couple notes on, I'll do it on Evernote on my phone. A lot of times I will use it to scan people's flyers. Like, sometimes I'll get a flyer and I want to keep it for reference, but I don't really want to keep the paper. So I'll just scan it and throw out the flyer and be done with that. And then I title the note in a way that if I were to need that flyer, I would search for those terms. So that way, like, I'm kind of preemptively like thinking of myself in the future. Like if I need, for example, we have lantern flies right now. So if I was going to scan a flyer for a pest person, I would make sure in the title to put that it's a pest person. Because if I just put the person's name or the company name that doesn't say pest, I wouldn't be able to find it when I go back and search for it in Evernote later. We talked a little bit about, a lot of people use this for their kids' artwork, because that's a big area of clutter, is that, artwork that comes home every single, week from school. Right now, everybody's home, but you can kind of just scan like one thing a month, the thing that you put on the fridge. And again, when you're titling those notes, you have to make sure you're, putting the name of the child or the date, what grade they're in, stuff that you would want to remember later. But if you're going to do that, I would say, again, separate the notebooks by the child's name or the person's name, just like with the cards, so that you can just open the notebook and eventually you can give that to the kid. So, and then there is, there's ways to save like articles from the web using the browser extension, but that's on your computer. That's not necessarily on your phone. And that's a little bit more advanced. So, and also a big thing is books that you want to read, or that you have read, or that, people have told you about. And also grocery lists. Like, it's great for any kind of list of stuff, because, you know, you always have your phone. A lot of times we make our grocery list and then we'll leave it at home. So if you have it on Evernote, you can just pull it up real quick and see it right at the grocery store if you forget it. So,
Melissa, may I ask a question?
sure.
So you're going over all of this and all wonderful things. How is this different than the notes that is already on my phone? That's what I was doing. I was going between notes and Evernote. And I'm like, why am I got to choose one. So I chose notes because it was already there.
I think that the biggest difference would be that probably the searchability, the shareability, and also that Evernote is also on the computer. So for me, that works like, you know, sometimes I type a lot faster on the computer than I do on my phone. So for me, it's easier sometimes to go on a computer, be able to see my notes. There's more room for you to view things on a computer. So I think that that would, like, if you're using notes and that works for you, great, you know, but if you feel like it is lacking some features, like you aren't able to search, you're not quite able to share things easily, like some other thing is coming up for you that you just wish you could do, I would say start trying out Evernote. But if you have a system that you like that works, you shouldn't try to mess with it. Like, you know what I mean? If it's working for you, just go for it. Don't.
They both had many, like the features of scanning the documents and things like that. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, it has.
Typing on the computer is a big difference.
Yeah, and also like that, like a lot of people on this call expressed fear of losing the information that they, you know, work so hard to preserve. But for Evernote, it's always going to be stored on there, you know, as long as they're a company and as long as we have computers, like they are very solid. They've been around for a while. You know, I did look into them and, you know, made sure like I'm not just, they're not going to go out of business tomorrow. You know, they're I think they're publicly traded, all that stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, and also they do give you the option to download everything, like if you do need to. So I think it would take time to do that, but if you really were that, you know, you wanted to have a backup, you didn't want everything just to be in the cloud, I think they do offer the option to back things up like that.
Thank you.
Melissa, I have a question when you're done. Okay, so actually 2 questions. Number 1, how does, let's say, Evernote work with regards to your memory on your phone? Because I've run into that. So I utilize I have an Apple. I utilize the albums function. I have a lot of pictures, and I do take pictures of documents and such. So what I run into is that I run out of space. So I purchase additional memory. That's not an issue right now. However, if I'm storing everything on something that's using that that memory, that's going to cause an issue eventually. Right. Does these items use the memory?
Well, these things, like you have, so there's online and offline files. So like just the default setting, your files are just online. And so that means they're not stored locally on your phone. Like pictures that you take are always going to be stored locally on your phone until you delete them, you know, if you're storing them in a different place.
Or until I move them to the cloud.
Exactly. When it's just like the cloud. So you can turn on a feature that will allow you to have those things of your Evernote notes available offline, but that would take your memory up. But as the default, like it's not going to take memory because it's storing things in the cloud off your phone. Like you're accessing them through the app and it doesn't take up space in the same way.
So is it Evernote's cloud or is it my cloud?
It's it's going to be on Evernote.
Okay.
So like, you know, the reason we're doing 3 apps is because like I'm always using a mixture of them for the different applications. Like some things for me work better on Evernote. So like earlier I said I did some paper clutter reducing through these apps. Set a good example. And I just had like from the bank, like a bank note, like it's not even a note. It's telling me what I need, what information I would need to get a credit card for my business. It's like, you know, just very simple little note with a phone number on it. And so I put that in Evernote because it's not like something that I would want to have on a Google Doc, really. And I could put it on Trello, but Evernote, it's more like stuff that you want to keep just in case, kind of. Like, you know, little banknote information, you know, just like it was just a handwritten note. And it took me 2 seconds to enter it into Evernote. So I just typed it in there. So, like, you kind of have to see what works best for each different application that you're
Okay,
doing.
thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
You mentioned camera scans. So could you explain that a little bit? I mean, you're not talking about taking pictures. What is a camera scan? How would you, is there a certain...
Camera scan is available on Evernote and Google Drive. And that just is on your smartphone. It's
Okay.
you're holding your phone literally like this above the document that's on the desk, and
Okay.
it picks up the edges of the document. So what you want to do is put a white document onto a black background or vice versa, so that you have some contrast, and it will automatically only scan the information on the white paper. And it does have some ability to, like, it just makes it look like it was originally a PDF on the computer. Like, it's kind of hard to explain. Let me see.
Okay, all right. I'll have to look into that. I
Yes, it's
really heard of the camera scan before, so
It
something new for me
great.
to give it a try.
See if I can pull one up here. That's not like, to make sure that, you know, I'm hiding any information that's personal. So here's one. So this was a yoga, here, I'll share back again. So this was a yoga class I went to at the Allentown Library. Actually, it was a meditation class. They do like Monday meditation every first Monday or something. And it's taught by this lady here. Here's her business card. Her name is Prush, something with a P. So here's all her information and a little picture of her business card that I scanned. And then it gives me a whole little contact form that's already filled out with the right information. And I could have entered more notes in here. And the same thing for this document here. This was like her little flyer with a cute little quote on it. You know, something that I didn't want to keep a paper, you know, for my whole life of her adorable quote, but I did want to see it again eventually. So I just did a camera scan, and this is kind of how it looks. If you save it as an image, it will have this type of look. If you save it as a document, this is kind of how it looks here. Scroll down. So you see, it looks really clean, like, and just nice. So that's the thing. So
Okay, thank you. I'll have to explore that.
wonderful. So okay, so next up is Google Drive. So we're using Google Drive. Google Drive is more of like a storage for documents, PDFs, presentations. It's for Excel documents. But the thing is that Google has its own version of all those things. It has its own version of PowerPoint, which is called Slides. It has its own version of Excel, which is called Sheets. And same thing with Word documents. They're called Google Docs. Just to make things confusing. And even I think Apple has their own versions. They call them something completely different. But they're all the same program, and they're all interchangeable, kind of. So you can create these documents on Google Drive, and you wouldn't necessarily have to pay for the software for, you know, the Office suite. I think it's like a couple $100 to have that Office suite. So I haven't used Office suite in many years because as a college student, I did not have a computer, and I was using the library's computers, and they were awful, and they would crash, and I would lose my old papers. And so I started originating my papers on Google Drive and storing them on the cloud in order to avoid losing all of my work. It was so frustrating. So as you're writing a document on Google Docs, it saves them in live time so that, you know, if your computer does crash, you only lost like maybe 2 sentences at the most and not your whole work. And then it also has sharing back and forth. So I can share a document, you know, and just Charmaine, or like I could share it with Charmaine and she could view it over there. And if I made changes, she would still see those changes being made. So it's really, honestly, it's very cool. And I've used it a lot throughout my whole career, and also for volunteering, like for Toastmasters. I used to do a lot of work with Toastmasters, and I created a folder that we could store everything in, that we could share with many people, and they could access it, like kind of like a library, a Google Drive library. I did that for a couple different places that I worked, and it was helpful. So another use of Google Drive is scanning. We talked about there's a scanning function on the app of Google Drive. You go into the app, and then you will, I'll do this with you. I think one of you guys has it. So you go into the Google Drive app and you hit the plus button. It says folder, upload, and then scan with camera. And that's where you will scan a document. So that's another way to scan from your phone, which is something I love to teach my clients, because it's very useful to scan from your phone. A lot of times you don't have a physical scanner available, or it just takes too much time, and it's just easier to use your phone for a lot of things. And so, you know, and if it's something that you want to show people frequently, like my last little blog was about photographs and memories. I'm working on a document on Google Docs about my like my grandparents and my ancestors and such. And so I have pictures of them that I put on a document, and then my dad told me like the stories that go with each person, like about their picture and like how they were, and I typed it up because I type real fast. And so I was showing it to my best friend at her house. I was showing it to everybody like I could show it to, but it was on my phone, so that made it really easy to just show people when I was out and about, rather than like, you know, with a physical document, like I'm not gonna take that with me, you know? So that's a really cool feature. And a lot of times, like I'll take notes during a conversation with people. And so for me, the easiest way to get rid of those notes is to type them into into a Google Doc. And then I can just throw the handwritten notes out and just have the typed information available. If I wanted to search for it, I can, but I don't have to keep the physical note. Because for me to find a physical note would take, you know, a while, whereas finding it on my phone on Google Drive is just as easy as searching for the right terms that will bring up that document. So another thing, you know, where it's searching is really helpful. So I'm gonna ask you guys all to wait for questions till the end so we can get through Trello. So what is Trello? Trello is a series of boards which you can organize however you want. And they each have little cards. So here I'm picking up a card on my to-do board. This is my home life. You know, I have a Trello board for my home stuff, because there's a ton of to-dos at home, right? So a lot of them I haven't done, like obviously, but I do need to still clean the oven. But for me, like with this eye appointment, I need to make an eye appointment by the end of this month, and I've been putting it off. So put it on Trello, and you know, that reminds me every time I go in here of the things that I have to do and things that are running. And I can put extra information in here. Like one of the papers that I came across when I was decluttering was Laurie's weekly reading log for the summer reading program that the Emmaus Public Library is doing. I don't know if you guys know, but they're doing like a summer reading. You can do it even as an adult, and they're giving you like little prizes, like super fun. So I created a little to-do on my to-do board to go and log my reading every week, because I only did it 2 times so far. So, so you have each little list. So I have a to-do, done, waiting for, and parking lot. And so that comes right from David Allen's Getting Things Done little book that I love. And so each card, you know, if I clean the oven, I'm gonna just move this card over to done. And then I can see my to-do list getting shorter and I can feel very accomplished. Or maybe something like hem the curtains, so waiting for. So I actually have to buy stitch witchery and iron to go and hem my curtains. So I'm going to be waiting till I do that in order to start that project. And then parking lot, things I would like to do, make fancy magnets for my fridge with meals on them, like, be super organized, but that's not really that urgent. So it's on the parking lot. And then you can also have a little due date here. So if you were to click on a card and open it up, it gives you a lot more options. So you can add a description, you can write a comment, if you did something on that. You can add a checklist, which I love, an attachment, which will put an image on your card, makes it look really nice. So there you have a bunch of little things you can do with them. So this would be great for your craft projects. So if you had, so these are boards, so you can have multiple different boards at any different time. So maybe one of them would be sewing projects, for example. And then you have to do, I want to start making baby leggings for my niece, so we add a card, sew baby leggings. I'm just making this up, but and then in here you can put like all the information. Maybe I would need to buy the pattern first, and so I put that in there, and then once I buy the pattern, I would come in here and probably put the next step in there. So or you could break things out. Maybe you would break things out even more, like, I'm not sure, like if you wanted to sew the baby leggings, maybe you need to buy the pattern, buy the materials. So, you kind of organize it however is best for you, but this goes into project management. So the other things we talked about were more about storage. Google Drive and also Evernote are more about different types of storing and scanning, but this is more for the project management side. So if we're talking about getting rid of paper, maybe we could put, let's see, maybe you had a paper that was, about the lawn people, and you need to schedule the lawn to be done. And then inside the card, you could put B&B Lawn Care and their phone number, basically. And then you can just save it and it's there. And that way, when you have time to actually do these to-dos, you can go back, you have all the information, and it's a lot easier. So about 6 minutes left until 8 o'clock. So do you guys have any questions about Trello or?
I had a quick question. What's that Butler thing that was on the Trello screen? I think.
The Butler?
Yeah, so go back to the Trello screen.
Yes. So this Butler, these are automation tips. This is like a little bit more advanced. This would be like 103. So these are different tips that they want me to do in order for this board to be more efficient, basically. Okay. So I really don't know, like, why. Oh, look, they actually they gave me a suggestion to add vacuum the downstairs to my to-do list because I had performed it 5 times, most recently 23 days ago. So it's giving me little tips that say, like, things that I've done, like, reoccurring, and that I should maybe add them. So it's just a little extra feature.
I was curious.
Who else has questions about Trello?
I have a question, Melissa, about something you had said earlier. You were talking about when you're starting a project to create a plan, and you talked about 4 different quadrants. Can you just give a little bit more on that?
So basically the 4 quadrants would be the resources that you need, the steps to complete the project, the steps in order, And here, I'm pulling it up. It's actually on my website under my events and my blog. So here it is. Here, I'll show you. There's one I'm forgetting, obviously. So the resources, the steps in order, and then the desired end result. So just basically, preparing with the end in mind. What do you want to have at the end? What is it going to look like? And starting there, and then brainstorming, like, we talked about my curtain project. I need stitch witchery, I need ironing board and iron. Put that all in resources needed. And then, steps in order. Those are pretty self-explanatory. So here, I'll put out the link to the blog page. I think I talked about it a few times. So did that answer your question?
It did, and I have another one. So somebody had mentioned like cutting recipes out of magazines or whatever. I do that all the time, and then I can't find them. So how would you manage that?
So recipes, I would definitely put those into Evernote. And I like this one blogger. Her name is Jordan Page, and her thing is like fun, cheaper, free. And so she just did this whole video about how she has a recipe binder, and that's all the recipes that she has used that she's liked. So each time she has a recipe, like, this is a little bit of a tangent, but so, and then she has another one of ones that she wants to try, but that would be paper. And we're going to do our smart app. So if you wanted to organize your recipes, I would organize them in Evernote, and under notebooks, I would say recipes, chicken recipes, pork recipes, breakfast, and then scan them into Evernote. And then you can just, you can even make notes, like text notes above the picture of the recipe, so that you would be able to quickly search for some ingredient, that's only in that recipe. Because like I said, they do advertise that you can search all of your text notes, but it's not 100% accurate. So like, if you scanned a recipe with chicken and then you typed in chicken, I don't know that it would come up unless you added into the text chicken or somewhere into the body of the note chicken. So I would just, just be on the safe side. And then you could also, on each of those notes with your recipes, you could add like your family's reaction, or if you made any modifiers in the text below the note. So for you, each recipe has to have its own note. You want to add a little bit of searchable text, and separate them through your notebooks by the type of protein. So maybe I should do a blog on just that, or paperless organizing of recipes. I'll have to write that down. That will go on.
I think you should. I think a lot of people do that, so I think you should. I think that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, we could definitely talk about that for a lot longer. So it's 8:00 now, everybody. If there's anybody that has to hop off, like, feel free, but please, before you do, send me your email address in the chat so that I can send you follow-up information. I talked about a lot of different little things in here, like the PDF and the blog and such like that. So please send me your email if you haven't yet. So if anybody else, if you guys want to stay on I could stay on for another 10 or 15 minutes and answer questions. But if anybody has to hop off, go right ahead. And maybe. Sure.
Sorry. Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, when you were talking about Google Drive, you were saying about using Google Drive, typing up notes from, a conversation. So I'm not the most technologically savvy. So since a lot of us are Zooming with different, for various and sundry things, would I be able to observe or be a part of a Zoom program like I'm joining right now? Could I possibly get to Google Drive and type in the notes? So in other words, while I was listening to you, instead of writing on paper, would I be able to access Google Drive while I'm listening to you to type in my notes?
Yeah, it might be a little, you might have to like play with the windows, but each window, like Google Drive would be on like a browser, a web browser, and you would maybe like make it a little smaller and put that to the right hand side of your screen. And then Zoom is another program, so you would need to make that kind of small, put that on the opposite side of the screen. And yes, you could take notes while you were viewing a Zoom program. I
Okay.
think a lot of students do that exactly that way.
Okay. All right. I just wasn't really sure, like with, Zoom, if that was available. So again, something I'll have to work on, something I'll have to try. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and just trying things out and seeing what works for you is the best way to, figure it all out. So I'm still, and we're all still working on it. So I did realize I had another slide here where I was talking about Trello, but we pretty much, covered all that. I did take a tally, and for the pile of papers that I was talking about, what I put one thing into Trello, which was Laurie's library thing about the summer reading program. I put I typed 4 things that were handwritten notes and put them into Google Drive as Google Docs. And then I scanned using my scanner. I did cheat a little bit. I didn't use my phone. I think I scanned one thing with my phone, which was a greeting card for my husband. But other than that, I scanned with my computer everything into Google Drive, and that was 4 items. So Evernote, I think, didn't get much action today. I haven't been using it quite as much as Trello and Google Drive, I guess. But so Google Drive is my clear winner. I use that to get rid of the most paper. So
I have another question. I have a question.
Sure.
Evernote, if I'm correct, it has a audio type component. Is that something that's connected with the notes where you can scan it and such?
Evernote has a voice function, huh? Yeah, it does. It has the audio function, and so it looks like it is just a regular note, and they're gonna just add an audio file into it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's when you download it, you get the whole thing. I've used the audio function to actually tape conferences, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's great. But when you're creating that audio file, again, the naming, you're gonna make sure you're naming it in a way that you can find it later with the important information that you're gonna need later to find it. So however you would want to find that, if it's for example, if it's a conference, like a leadership conference, make sure you put leadership in there so that when you go and search leadership material, maybe have a project or a blog, you can find the right material that you actually need.
Yeah. I remember that from my secretarial days. If you don't save it the right way when it's electronic, you could waste so much time looking for it.
Exactly. Yep. And so with all these programs, that seems to be pretty important because Trello also has a searching function. So a lot of times, I'll remember a specific task that maybe I did for somebody else, and I have to reference that again. So I'll search in Trello to find the card that I'm looking for because it might be buried and done, but I do need that information again. So I need to search for it. So, yeah. So I'll go through these last little couple slides here. So again, we're talking right now about digital filing. So trying to keep big categories as your main categories. So instead of having very descriptive file names, you want to have larger category names. And with these digital programs, they sort them automatically by the alphabet. So we talked about naming. And if you're someone like Charmaine, where you have a business, she operates like a Mary Kay business, and I think other businesses too, you want to separate those all out initially. You don't want to keep your business files ever with your personal. So that's important to remember. So the big categories I use for my home files at least are auto, health, house. If you had a beach house, you could have house, beach. Not yet, but maybe in the future. So if you had kids, I just made these kids' names up, but so you would separate it by kids and then by their name. Same thing with pets, like my pet, and then I have their name, Elvis and Annie. Insurance, pets, and taxes. So just like those are the bigger kind of categories. And then if you guys are on social media, I would love for you to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And so there's my contact information. If you guys have a need, or if you have any questions, you just want to shoot me a quick question, feel free to email me. But yeah, so it sounds like you guys got a lot out of tonight.
I did.
Anybody have any follow-up questions or anything else you wanted to share? Or is there anybody that wants to like ask a specific question about paper they got out? What should I do with this paper specifically? No. I know that Katie had mentioned how long to keep things.
Oh,
So you can just Google that. How long should I keep documents? And you can there's like a bunch of lists available about how long exactly to keep things. Like taxes, we want to keep tax records for 7 years. That's the big number. And then like birth certificates, anything important like that, obviously keep those forever. But personal receipts, a lot of times, I will tell my clients not to keep those unless it's for something really big, like a big purchase, maybe keep it. But like a lot of times I'll find all these personal receipts for like clothing from like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And if you're somebody that maybe takes stuff back regularly, you need those receipts, but in general, you don't need to keep your grocery receipts. You don't need to keep your CVS unless it's a tax deduction for a medical purpose, like a prescription. If you have enough medical deductions, a lot of times, you can claim those on taxes. But if you're not saving it for tax reasons, then you should definitely get rid of all your personal receipts, unless it's like a big purchase. So what else is like something that you were not sure how to keep? Does anybody have any questions about that?
I was just going to say, I get rid of the receipts once they're on the charge, once I get my statement.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the returns, once it shows up on the statement, then I get rid of the receipts.
Yeah, because that's a lot of clutter, personal receipts. So for a business, you have to keep those receipts for the 7 years, prove them for taxes. But for personal, like I really encourage people not to keep them. So, yeah, so if you guys don't have any other questions, just, like I said, reach out to me through email, and I will send you out the follow-up email with all the information, of course. And yeah, I'll definitely, look for any questions, or if you have any tips, like, after this class, if you feel like you got a lot out of it, you want to send me a testimonial of how your experience was or something like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm right here in Emmaus, so maybe we'll see each other at the library. So, yeah, I mean, if nobody else has any questions, I will.
Can I ask quick before we go?
Sure.
Is there a charge for Evernote and Trello?
They have free accounts available. All the things that I shared they have free accounts available. There are others you can pay for. Like, there's, certain little power-ups. There's extra features you can get if you pay for Evernote or Trello. They both have premium accounts. So like we talked about the business card scanning, that is a premium feature that is only available on like the $8.99 plan or something. So certain things, but yeah, they're all free. So
okay, thank you.
Download them and just start a free account. And then if you feel like you want those features, like one of the other features for Evernote is you can use it in more than 2 locations, because if you have it on your phone, you have it on your computer, and then you want to put it on your tablet, you can't do that unless you pay the $8.99 a month. So.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you all for joining me tonight. I had a great time, and was fun seeing everybody. So hope,
Very useful.
yeah, and I'll invite you guys to the next class, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Melissa.
Bye, everyone. Right, Miss.